So, before we start, liebe Leute, ihr werdet gleich in ungefähr einer Stunde jede Menge Zeit haben, darüber zu reden, aber wir versuchen dann hier vorne das Panel aufzunehmen. Wer also vielleicht dann ganz höflich einmal die Dreiviertelstunde zu warten. Ja, du darfst ja malen, aber kratzt nicht so laut mit dem Pinsel, der Rest ist in Ordnung. Okay, Dankeschön, ihr seid echt so freundlich, ich finde das super. Ich mag euch alle herzlich. Prost auf euch! Good, and now please give a warm welcome for Mr. John F. Carroll.
I'm actually going to be recording this for my own YouTube channel, so bear with me for 2 seconds. Are we speeding? We're speeding. Okay, so hi, I'm John Carroll, and that was for sound. Okay. I will start kind of from the beginning of my journey in making my fan trilogy. I was trained as an actor, and I've gone to school for directing and so forth, but it's all been for stage theater. And I had several friends who I've done plays with, and we talked about them. My friend Russell Minton, who helped with the films. We would chat when we were backstage about him doing several films locally and how cool it was and so forth. And I said, you know, I'd love to, you know, do a lot of that myself. And me growing up, I never had cameras and film cameras because it was just too expensive. But within the last 10 years, the technology has become so much more accessible that you can get your camera and your editing equipment and all of this stuff that you need reasonably cheap. So Russell and I decided that we were going to make our own film so that we could learn the process of filmmaking. And of course I was a very big Masters of the Universe fan. And I had read on the He-Man.org forums and some other places people doing their own fan fiction, and there was one that was really fantastic, and I can't remember the guy's name, but we would write back and forth, and I would say how much I really enjoyed his writing, and it was great. So it inspired me to start writing my own fan fiction. And that very quickly turned into a script, just because of how I think. My middle name, was ist das in Deutsch? My middle name is Faust. Oh, wow. I know, right? So, being trained in theater and having my middle name be Faust, of course, I have read Goethe, and I'm a huge fan of F.W. Murnau and the German Expressionist films. So I took the Faust story, which is The Wizard of Stone Mountain, and I decided I would take that story and flesh it out a little bit. So the Filmation version is, I think Malik is great. He has some complexity to him, but the Filmation story is a little, how would you say, James? Cheesy? Yeah. So I decided I was going to infuse a lot of the elements of especially the F.W. Murnau film into it. It is F.W. Murnau, isn't it? Or is it Fritz Lang? Anyway, somebody Google that for me. I just went blank. But, what's that? Oh, that's funny. So we decided we were going to take that story and kind of go on our journey and see what happens. And so I started writing the story, and I thought, there's really no reason why He-Man needs to be in this film. And so I took a chance. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. So He-Man comes in at the very end. If you have not seen the films, spoiler alert, He-Man's not really in the first film. And we fell on our ass as far as technique goes quite a bit in that first film. Well, in all of them, actually. But I'm proud of what I did because I took a chance and I went out there and I said, you know what, I'm just going to make this film. And I had no idea anybody would ever watch it. And suddenly I was invited to Grayskull Con and I thought, oh, shit. People want to actually see this. But had I not just said, you know what, I'm going to go out and make this film, I would have never met all the great people I've met and become part of the larger He-Man community. And it was a big deal just to be part of that. I've gotten a lot of people saying some mean, nasty things about the film, and sometimes they're not wrong, but anyway. I cannot remember if we decided to make it a trilogy when we were filming the first one or after the fact, but I decided I was going to complete the story. So we filmed the second one, which is The Fountain of Life, which is directly taken from The Witch and the Warrior. Yeah, and with some other elements involved, if anybody is familiar with that episode. And I invented a character named Carroll, which was the guardian of the Fountain of Life. And in the Filmation episode, Malik is just there, and he's like, I'm here at the Fountain of Life. There needed to be a reason. So, of course, you have this conflict. And I put in the story with Evelyn and Tila being banished into the wilderness, and then you've got all this other stuff going on. And Gunnar said that we might show the two films, so I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. And then for the third film tonight, I just wanted to tie up the story and finish it. So we actually shot it, and it was completely done 3 years ago. And I decided that I was going to not edit that one and just let somebody else take care of it. But unfortunately, they were working on their own projects, and it just became a huge mess. So, come, what did I say, July of this year? I decided, okay, well, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I'll take this back over, and so I worked nonstop to get this finished. And if you look at the films objectively, and my goal in making them was to learn the process of filmmaking. And I really believe I took that journey. I think that each one is better than the next. And had I not decided to come in and just do this, I have other projects now that I'm going to do, which I'm going to just absolutely shove in your face this evening. That would not have come about had I not jumped in and decided, screw it, I'm going to do this thing. But I have gotten so much support and love and made so many new friends by doing this that no matter what the trolls on YouTube say, this has been like the best experience of my life. So I also have a horrifying hatred for a lot of actors now, because they are so flaky. Oh my God. I don't know if you dealt with this, Daniel, but just, you know, anybody who's ever made a film or done theater, it is an uphill battle, especially if you have no money, and I had no money. So I had to put in my own interpretation for costumes and just do what I could, and I had some actors that just didn't show up, so I threw on makeup and costumes and I just did it myself. I'm surprised I wasn't every single character at one point. But it was, you know, it was a great learning experience, and as far as filmmaking goes, you can either learn it in theory or you can learn it by doing it. And I am certainly not finished learning by any stretch of the imagination. I have a long way to go yet, but I took that first step, and I had no idea I would find an audience for it, but I'm grateful I did, because, you know, I guess that's what it's about, but there you have it. Anybody have any questions? James!
Yeah, was yours like the first ever He-Man film, or have there any others before that?
As far as I know, mine was the first live action He-Man fan films, as far as I know. So, thinking about it, I'm kind of nuts and taking that kind of a risk.
Yeah, because you put yourself on the chopping block.
Yeah, real bad. And you know what? Maybe it just hasn't gotten really as much attention or traction, but I've had both good and bad comments. But really, nobody has really been just dirty, nasty me. Well, no, that's not true. They have, but I guess I could have had a lot more criticism than I've had. So, and you know, I certainly don't mind constructive criticism. I mean, that's how you learn. And believe me, I know that there are shortcomings in these films. But it's just kind of the way it goes sometimes when you're working with limited budget, limited crew, people with limited knowledge. So for those people who say, oh, your film sucks, I'm like, well, where's your film? So, yeah. Yes.
So after 3 films and countless years of your life put into this, when it's all over and it's premiered and it's out there, is there going to be a little part of you that misses the process of this character, the attachment to this story?
Yeah, a little bit. Bjorn and I were chatting, and the story could continue. Who knows? I have an idea about where Malik can go from here, and it makes perfect sense. So unless Mattel comes in and destroys my idea with some of their bios, I have a very natural place for Malik to go, but it might be a standalone thing that I may or may not do. So we'll see. But yeah, but there's always like this new project in the back of my head. So there's never, when I leave this, I'm always going to something else. So that little empty space doesn't stay empty very long. So, the children are coming. Any other questions?
What was the best part of the whole process? Kind of your favorite part of all of it?
The best part of the whole process was coming here and having people watch it, and you know, whether they liked it or not, I've made friends with everybody, and you know, we shut up, James. And going to PowerCon and making friends with everybody there and just being part of the community. Because before this, I mean, I was a fan, but I was just sort of out there kind of being a fan by myself. And just meeting other people that have the same passion. That's been the best part of this. So, you know, I mean, my contribution is tiny, but it was enough that I've met all of you guys. So, to me, that's the best reward possible.
Are you ever going to go back to those films, the trilogy as it were,
Oh,
and do a George Lucas like, you know, heavy CGI insertion and changes? I mean, I presume you've still got the raw footage, right?
Yeah. So, if there is support for it and a want for it, I certainly know more now. What was this, 5 years on? I know more now than when I started The Wizard of Stone Mountain. And I look at The Wizard of Stone Mountain, and there are just so many mistakes that I know how to correct now. So, option A is I do go in and clean a lot of that stuff up. And if I did that, I would go and correct some things in all the films. Put the whole thing on Blu-ray with commentary and all the stupid outtakes and everything else. But it would really, I mean, it's expensive to do that and it's time consuming, so there would have to be, I'd probably do a Kickstarter or something like that. And if I reached the goal, if there were enough people who were interested in having that, I'd be happy to do it. Yeah, so, you know, we'll see. Speaking of the outtakes, everybody hated my guts on set because I could not stop laughing. I was doing everything. I was directing. I didn't always work behind camera, but I made a lot of the costumes, and so learning my lines was the last thing I did, and I would make shit up half the time. And I would be thrown into some characters when actors didn't show up, so that was always fun. And you know, when you just sit down and you're about to be in front of the camera and you're about to do this, you suddenly go, this is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Because we're in a public park where people are walking their dogs, and we're in, like, all these costumes. Oh God, I gotta tell you about He-Man too. And so, I would laugh because I'm just like, I don't know my lines. I have convinced all these people to dress up and look like morons to the rest of the world. And it was hysterical to me. Speaking of... Dankeschön. What did he just ask me? Okay. Let me tell you a little story about He-Man. I cast one actor who looked the part. Blonde hair, just muscles for days. He had contacted me all the way back from Wizard of Stone Mountain and wanted to play Prince Adam and all this stuff. And he was a working actor and did all kinds of commercials and sold freaking hamburgers on TV and all this stuff. And that's great for him. But if you're going to commit to me and work, you've got to commit to me. And I said, you know, I need you to at least be part of the read-through for the script with the rest of the cast, even if it's on Skype, because I think he was in a different city at that moment. And of course, he didn't show up. And so I'm like, well, I mean, my main character has to be present, or else, you know. So then I cast somebody else, blonde, muscles. And so I talked to him back and forth, and I just had this gut feeling something was wrong. So the first day when he was supposed to be on set, there's probably children around, so I'll not curse. We're werewolves, not swearwolves. He didn't show up, and I blew a gasket. I was so angry. So one of the other cast members called somebody they knew, and this guy, bless his heart, David, showed up. David is a great actor, but the first person who body shames him because he's not built like a brick shithouse like everybody expects, I'll come kick your ass, because it's just how it is. David is brilliant, and I believed him as He-Man in a second. But let's just say he's more the 2000X He-Man, kind of slender and such. But I thought he was a great actor, and I believed him. So, and he stepped into the role without batting an eye when nobody else showed up. So, you know, God bless you, David. What else was I going to talk about? I don't know. Any other questions? Comments? Cutting remarks?
You mentioned that you didn't do a Kickstarter campaign or anything like that, and I can imagine that this was not an inexpensive project.
Oh, no.
Making 3 movies. Was it just personally funded by you, or did other people throw in? Just you?
Yeah. I personally funded it, and I emailed anybody who would listen to me and just said, can I borrow this? Will you donate this? You know, I got costumes from a theater company, and I built a lot of it. I paid for some of it. I did do a Kickstarter campaign, but I do not have the resources that a lot of people on social media do, and I'm not very good at asking for money, to be quite honest. And it was difficult. I raised a little bit of money, but not much. So I funded most of it myself. So, thank you. To reimburse myself, I am taking donations, and with your donation, you get a free DVD, and you can do that in the little flea marketplace over here. So, but these films are all free to watch online too. So.
Say that. Buy my films.
Well, you know, I don't want Mattel to come sue me. Mattel has been really nice about it. They've kind of turned the other cheek. I've also really tried to make this my own story-wise. So if I have strayed from what people think, oh, this has to be, you know, like this, I'm like, no. You're in my playroom, and I'll play with my toys how I want to. So I have tried to make it new in respect that I don't want to get in trouble by Mattel, but I have put enough references and things to everything that you guys know and understand from watching the 87 film and 2000X cartoon series and the original Filmation series. I think I've got mini comics references in there, so and references to other films. So I stole shit from everywhere. But it was fun. I got so frustrated making the films because there's just so much stress about. Okay, there's so much stress in producing all of this stuff and controlling the schedule and all of that. But, you know, if I hated it, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I love doing it. It's kind of like I have to do it. And doing theater for so long, it's just kind of part of who I am. And when I came to Germany for the first time, I shot so much footage and so much B-roll, and I added those back into the films, and for me, it just makes it so much better because there's more atmosphere and more, it just makes it doesn't look like it's in Texas, the whole thing, so it really helps. So it makes me want to travel and visit more places, and that's why I'm going to England for 2 weeks. So anyway, I'm very passionate about what I do, so yeah, yes.
If anyone else has questions, they can jump in too.
No, please.
Having made Fall of Grayskull, we realized how important it is to have a team.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that we had to call, we knew we could call if we absolutely needed something, and they would be there. Were there people for you who were constant throughout the process, who were kind of your right-hand man or an assistant to you?
Bjorn has helped me to the point, he did all the logos. If I needed something photoshopped, if I just needed to cry for a little while, he was always there. I reached out to a lot of other people, and sometimes I was ignored, sometimes I wasn't. But James helped me quite a bit. I would ask questions about, you know, is this right? What happened here in this episode, whatever, and he was like, yeah, that's fine. So that's why you're a consultant on everything. I'd say, I mean, I've got this laundry list of people I thanked, and everybody, but Bjorn's helped, and my partner, Kevin, was a huge help too, because there were many times when emotions just sank, and I was so tired, and he would, you know, encourage me to keep going, and, you know, so Kevin played Stratos in the films too, so he hated my guts for that, because I put him in a somewhat revealing costume. But, you know, everyone in the film is a real person, so they don't look like comic books. Everyone's a little fat, and especially me. And but you know what? It was fun. We had a good time doing it. And in the third one tonight, there's a ton of cameos from fans. I won't ruin them for you, but that was a lot of fun to put those cameos in. So, yeah. And Johnny Bilson, who played Triclops in Fall of Grayskull, also played Triclops in my film. And he's brilliant. It was great. And Bjorn is in the films as well. And Yuka is in it. I put a big mustache on Yuka. Where am I? Oh, Gunnar is in it. Well, he's kind of in it.
The seed is funny.
Yeah.
Which part? You don't add anything.
So the third part, I'm really proud of it. Are there still problems? Oh, hell yeah, there are. But it was fun. I watch it and I'm like, this is fun. I look at the other ones and I'm like, oh, wow, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? But I look at the third one and there's less of, oh, wow, it kind of sucks. And there's more like, wow, that's really kind of cool. So I hope you guys like it. And if you don't, fuck you. Yes, a question.
You said you also wrote the movie in German, right?
The goal is that we are going to dub these into German as well.
Oh, no, I said for the film. You shot
I shot a good portion of it here. Yeah.
Germany is quite cooler than the US in terms of castles and stuff.
Yes.
You can go around here, you have castles like crazy. And you can
there are probably landmarks that you're going to laugh at because you're like, I know where that is. Had I not shot some of the stuff in Germany, I would have probably just pulled stuff off the internet, and it would have been like, okay. But I feel like it is a more cohesive world because I was able to take bits and pieces from everywhere, from Germany, from America, and whatever, and put it all into this thing. And so I made my version of Eternia, and it looks more convincing, don't you think? So, what I want to do is, if I do revisit these films, there's backgrounds and B-roll that I'm going to replace so that it's all kind of a cohesive thing. Because right now, things change a little bit from movie to movie because I found stuff that was better. But we're going to pause for a second so that he can change the card. Yeah. I'm going to cut here too, and I'm going to change this. But while we're changing our SD cards, does anybody have any other questions? And if not, make one up.
Yeah, I got another question.
Okay.
The movie features a lot of characters, right? And it's a quite epic story. I didn't see your movie actually. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
But
I forgive you this time.
But I didn't draw this way. But the thing, what I see in the Master of the Universe, with especially with the character background, they wrote from Mattel, I didn't like them. But because they make up some new characters, what I always think about is why don't make smaller episodes featuring one character, because maybe it's much more easy, of course, to produce.
Yeah.
And I think one part of the Master of the Universe franchise was when they put it into space, which was not working so well because they only took He-Man and Skeletor. But I think there are so many cool characters you can explore and give a cool background story. So with the mini comics, mini comics featuring one character like the pistol when he's fighting. In German it's called Animale, I don't know what it's called in English. Where he's in the arena and fighting all the guys and Jitsu and I like this like the Icons of Evil they made in 2000X, the Icons of Evil. I think that's quite cool because you can do it shorter. You can a lot of more this episode feeling, and I think that there's a lot of potential, maybe, I don't know, potential to explore for something like that.
Well, with this, I definitely concentrated on. Has everybody seen the Filmation episode, The Wizard of Stone Mountain? No, of course not, James. Well, if you have not seen it, short story about it. Malik is a wizard, and he is in love with Tila, and he is going to sell his soul basically to the devil so that he can be with her. And then he realizes that his apprentice loves him, and so he's like, oh, okay, and they live happily ever after. And that's it. But I fleshed it out quite a bit. And so the whole journey, the whole film series, I am kind of following Malik's story. As we get into the later films, of course, I've got other things going on, and it's not just about Malik. But yeah, I try to follow in that one line and really explore that. So yeah, I literally look at it as if I'm playing with my toys. This is how I would play with my toys at that moment. So it's my story, and well, it's the story that I'm telling, not my story. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I thought it was better just to explore one thing rather than go nuts. And I did lots of. I took pictures of all the actors in costume and made like hardbacks for them. And so that's on our Facebook page. And if you can go to wizardofstonemountain.com, or you can go to, I think it's either Motu Trilogy at Facebook or Masters of the Universe Trilogy but like that, and you can see all the photos. But people are like, oh, there's too many characters, and what's going on with that? And, there are a lot of characters, but what the hell? But I feel like they naturally fit in where they're supposed to, and I don't think it's overwhelming, but you know, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Yeah.
Is in the third one, is
Yeah.
Bo a prominent character? Played by Tim Mears.
Bo is not a prominent character. Tim Beers is a sweetheart, and everybody who came to work on the film was a sweetheart. But ultimately, I had to edit in a way that told the story the way I wanted to, and you know, not.
Is he show up at all?
What?
Is he in it at all?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely in it. Yeah.
He actually has a line.
He has a line.
There's a line. How does he deliver that?
You'll have to watch tonight.
Oh well.
So yeah, Bo is in it, and Shira is a pretty big character in this, and the Sorceress is in it quite a bit, and Man at Arms. Who in the hell else is in it? Real Blast may or may not be in it. I'll let you watch and see. Tila's in it. Orko was in the last one. Orko shows up at the very end. Maybe that's a story I shouldn't tell about Shut Up Tila. But, when I said congratulations on not making Tila a bitch, the reason why I said that is because the 2000X cartoon, she came off as kind of a bitch. And in my movies, she kind of comes off as a little bit of a bitch. Sorry, Bethany, but you know, the truth is true. And yeah. I think Tila is an important character, but Tila is not my favorite character. Ouch. One of my favorite parts of filming this is we went to Burg Frankenstein, and there is this huge area of woods around, and we just shot stuff. We took an afternoon and just shot stuff, and I put a lot of that into the movie, and it's like one of my favorite parts. Just walking around the woods. So. Surely there are more questions.
Is Bjorn in this in the third one?
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. So there's a really beautiful scene with me and Bjorn.
I'm not sure. Are we ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's full frontal nudity. There's probably enough outtakes that I could fill several hours worth. So
like Cannibal Run end credits.
yeah, it's ridiculous. I had like a folder of just outtakes.
86 hours of bonus material.
Yes, probably so. It would take a year to edit all of that, just that by itself, but it might be worth it. When I was editing, I would go through and I would laugh so hard at some of those takes because they were so ridiculous. But it was a lot of fun, so that's what it's all about. So yeah.
What was your
Am I boring you?
What was your worst experience?
Shit.
The love scene of Bjorn.
What? How do you know you haven't seen it yet?
I mean, I'll just say it. I had a couple of actors who were really good, close friends, and to be honest, I feel like they took advantage of my friendship. Did not what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't respect the schedule that I had created, And so I'm not friends with them anymore. And it's not just wasting my time, it was wasting everybody else's time. I had cast one actor to play Hordak, and he just fully didn't show up one day. Never said anything, didn't know if he was alive or dead, not F you, nothing. So I took over playing Hordak, and it was so much fun. Playing the villains was so much fun. I played General Tataran in the last one. That might be, although the makeup was so miserable, playing that character might be the most fun I've ever had acting ever. I love playing General Tataran. My makeup artists were batshit crazy. And I don't mind. If you're watching it on YouTube, you were batshit crazy. I won't say their names, but there was never any cohesive makeup. Hordak, there's one thing about Hordak, and he just looks like, and I'm like, oh my god. There's no fixing that in post. But you know what? In respect to them, they did show up. They didn't always do their job, but they showed up, and so you know, I can bitch and moan about a lot of it, but you know, they showed up and we got it done, and there it is. Yes.
What was the hardest part of producing? What was actually, for you personally, what was the worst thing? What was the most, except that people don't show up, that's pretty critical, but...
Like what was the absolute most difficult part?
Yes. Or the least enjoyable part. You said the most enjoyable maybe was the rolling and the play and laughing at the old takes, but what was the most... I
mean, we had absolutely no money at all, none. And I would go to secondhand stores and I would sew my own costumes, and so you had to interpret them as best you could. And because we didn't have a lot of resources, we had very minimal lighting, we had to just make do and just kind of say, you know, we'll just make this a style choice, basically. So just working within what we had, I don't even want to say it was the worst part, because it's a challenge and you just kind of work within that and just say, you know, there it is. I'd say people that don't understand working in with those means and have never done this before and criticize you for it, that's hurtful. But especially somebody that doesn't know me, I'm just like, I've had a couple of Facebook comments, you know, from people I don't even know, and they're like, oh, your films suck. And I'm like, yeah, some of it does suck. But who the hell are you? So, you know, I don't think my films suck. I'm very proud of my films. But I'm also looking at them from a different respect than, like, I'm not Sony Pictures. I'm not Warner Brothers. I'm me with a very, you know, limited, at the time and still so, limited experience, limited budget. And I'm just doing it because I love it.
What hats do you have? What hats do you wear in the production?
I was producer. I was the executive producer. I was the director. I was an actor, several actors. I ran camera occasionally. I was the editor. I had to feed these people. I had to reach out and email everybody. I was also the assistant to the director because I had to do the scheduling. I did I did just about everything.
And you also did the costume?
Yeah. A lot of it. Thank you. Now, I did have help with the costumes. Johnny Bilson did quite a bit of it, and oh God, I can't remember the name of it, and he's gonna kill me. Sharp Mountain Leather. They did the Man-at-Arms costume, and they did my He-Man, the leather costume, and it just beautiful work. All leather, real hot. It was awesome. But you know, I can't thank them enough, and I'll give them so much business when I'm able to. It's not even funny. But you know, yeah, I built quite a bit of it. The mallet costume I built myself from scratch, and I had several variations of it that all kind of go back to the Filmation cartoon, and then the third one I really tried to acknowledge that costume. So yeah, I did all that stuff. So I don't know if that answered your question what the worst part was, but all of it was challenging. There were moments when I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this. Yeah. And I did, but those really bad sinking feelings, that was awful. And you just have days when you're so tired that, you know, it's a challenge to keep going, but I did, so.
I think this is the part that most people don't appreciate or understand, is that for one movie made, no matter what the quality is, but for one movie made, there are thousands of movies who are thought, began in some kind of progress, and they're not done. They're not done. Yeah. And then people come and start shitting all over the place. Not only that they have done nothing at all, and that they don't contribute, they only consume and are bad shit, but the point that even if you have a very good movie to complete such a huge project with all the people involved, with all the budget, with all the borders you have within that, it's very huge accomplishment of very, very big.
Yeah, thank you.
No, because the most people don't appreciate it enough in this way.
I mean, unless you have done it, you really don't understand independent filmmaking from the perspective of getting out there and doing it. And it's a huge task. I mean, it's crazy. But, you know, I love doing it, so there you have it. What's my time? I have 10 minutes, okay? I can fill that. I love to talk. Maybe one day I'll be able to speak fluent German.
How did you survive the past 2 months?
God, I don't know. I was editing nonstop, and between like doing the effects and the sound design, and I had things coming from other people too. So I mean, I wasn't doing it all by myself, but yeah, the majority of it I was doing all by myself. And it was just, I was on pins and needles the whole time. Just, am I going to get this done? Is it going to look right? Is it going to fit together? The last 2 months were incredibly stressful. And knowing that it has to be done by this day because I get on an airplane and fly away. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I don't know how else to say it other than that. Stressful, crazy, no sleep. And one day when I was at my low point, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to get done. Of course, some asshat decides they're going to be like, oh, your movies suck. I'm like, well, yeah. So that was fun. But you know what? But at the same time, that happened But then, like a mama bear, I had friends come in and really chew this person out, and I was like, wow, I have people that really are protective of me, and that was really awesome. So thank you, those of you who did that. He-Man.org and Val Staples have been really supportive, and I appreciate them. And I'll kind of segue into something else here. In doing this, I'm meeting so many people and hearing stories about growing up with Master of the Universe and our childhood with it. I decided that I was going to make a documentary called Playtime Masters. And so I'm actually today and tomorrow, I was going to do it yesterday, but we were a little late. I'm going to be doing interviews, and if any of you want to be part of it, I am just going to talk to you about what your experience was, good or bad, growing up with Masters of the Universe. And, you know, just for example, I've heard stories about people who had a bunch of toys, people who had no toys but enjoyed it and created their own stuff. How it led into what they do as an adult and their continued passion with it. And I just want to archive these stories, brilliant artwork, and how that is influenced from Masters, and just, I think it's important that those stories are captured, and I want to share them. So come talk to me on camera. But I'll be doing that, and hopefully by next year I'll have that ready to go. And I'm going to be doing it at PowerCon as well. So, yes.
Yeah, there's one point I also wanted to point out about your own vision. The thing that a lot of people who are not creative or creating are not understanding that you don't do that to not only for them, but you're expressing something, and this is always part of yourself, and this is when people say I paint paintings, and some people say like this is not fitting into my universe, you know, like this is not part of this is totally bullshit. You know, nobody can watch into the head of something else.
Yeah.
This is not part of my, and they don't understand. This is what I like is that people. Or no better, like, this is not part of the official canon, and this bullshit, you know, well, what's official canon? You know,
Yeah.
this is what I like, is that people are expressing themselves, or doing great artworks or something, or movies about it, and show their part and their experience with the toys, and their own personal, like you said, you play with the actors, actually like with your toys.
Yeah.
It's quite cool, because this is what was the most interesting part when people tell you about it, how they enjoy playing it. And everybody, like you said, Tila is not your favorite character.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody has this shitty characters that maybe they are very prominent in the Filmation contest, and they think, oh, that's totally crap, or why is Beastman such an idiot in the cartoon, but I like the character, and I paint a better picture of him, this is my version.
Yeah.
This is what I really like about it, that people can that it's not the same, it's a part, and it's a creative process.
Exactly. You know, I've seen people do brilliant custom action figures and fan comic books and you know, on and on, fans. And I think all of this stuff is important because it's our creative outlet.
Yeah.
And this is just my humble addition to that. This is my custom action figure, if you will. And you know, I don't know how to explain it other than it's me playing with my toys. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Go play with your own freaking toys. So, I think Mattel should make a Malik action figure. So make some noise about that, because that's what I want. I'm sure I'm about to wrap it up, so I'll just say, guys, thank you so much for all of your support, and thank you for coming and listening to me talk for an hour. And I really hope you'll come and watch the film tonight. And one thing I would love, if you'll go on my YouTube channel, if you just Google Wizard of Stone Mountain, Fountain of Life, or Trials of Dark Smoke, you'll find it. Leave a comment, something nice, please. And give the old videos a thumbs up, because it actually will help drive traffic, and I would like for people to see this, so it supports me if you do that. Thank you.